Hello everybody, welcome to the Signal Box this evening for me over here in the UK, and I hope that you're all doing well, and thank you for joining me for yet another video here at the Signal Box today. I hope you're all doing well, and thank you very much for your recent comments, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe if this is your first time visiting the channel, and a very warm welcome to you all. So let's get cracking on with the video. So as you can see, it's a little bit messy on my little work table that I normally set up over my bed because I haven't got a workshop, but this will do. And it's not really what you've got, it's how you use it, and the things that you do, I think, count in the hobby if you do them sensibly. So I've attempted to build a control panel for my new semaphore motorized signals from Daypol. Obviously the power source is one side of it, but the control feed side of it is another separate issue. And because my layout isn't permanent, it's portable, so everything has to be built on a plug and play system when it comes to the electrics and the control side of things. They have to be basically, wire goes into a cable block and screw tight, and that's the connection made. And then when everything's dismantled, carefully unscrew it, gently pull the wires out for another day. And that's unfortunately till such times when I have a permanent space for my layout. But that is what it is. But anyway, in the meantime, I thought I'd design a control panel. So I've got the base here that I had some balsa wood knocking about. So this is currently drying, and I've done it, if you can see that profile there, I've done it in the style of an old 1960s signal box electric panel, like the one I worked at as a box lad at Hackney Downs Signal Box in 1995 on the West Anglia region. That was so much fun in those days, and I didn't even know it. But yeah, one of my first jobs on the railway that was. And I've designed this control panel here. Well, it's starting to take shape of a control panel. As you can see, it's just knocked up from balsa wood. And the idea is this will sit on my control bench, and the top of it with all the switches will eventually get secured to the top. I've left the top off at the moment because I'm in the process of doing a lot of wiring up. So I'll show you the switch panel that I've designed and built tonight. I'll bring that into shot. So here is my switch panel. So simple piece of balsa wood, and I've just basically situated all the action switches, the toggle switches, like so. I've got to neatly make up a label for each button to tell me what number signal it is, and I'll reference my little diagram that I made, so that will help. And I can label all the buttons and what they do, like out of home, starter, and so forth. So I'll get around to doing that. That's the basics of it. But yeah, they're all in, and these are push buttons. So these are momentary push buttons. So for example, the single stroke signals, the single starter signals, for example, you just push those for a couple of seconds and it changes, and then to put it back on, you do the same thing and it goes back. These switches, obviously, this is for the junction signals, for the ones with the servo in, because the ones that are single signals, they don't have servos, they have like a motor in. But these toggle switches are for the servo signals, for the predominantly the junction signals. So that's what I've done. I've got so far with that tonight. And once, if I flip it over, get a bit of tape off there, get out of it. Right, so what I've done, these are the original switches that come with the junction signals. And all I've done, I've just cut them off midpoint from the servo unit and left about the same length, like where are we? So if you think that length of wire I've got in my hand back to the switch, that's what's left on the servo unit. Well, all I'm going to do is basically tease those wires out of the 3 strands. There's a, as you can see, let me get it with my camera a little bit better for you guys. So there's an orange, yellow, focus really. There's an orange, yellow and a brown wire, and all I've got to do is gently separate those 3 wires so they're separate, and then just solder, for example, red and a black, and make sure they go to the right order to marry up with this end, and then we'll secure everything on the top. And when they're all wired up, including these switches, these are just a simple push on and off momentarily switch, so these don't need 3 wires. You've only got a black and a red, which is basically a neg and a posi wire just to complete the circuit. So the idea is, once everything's all wired up, it will, as I zoom out, it will look a bit like that once it's all done. So yeah, I might even cheekily, if I can get hold of some light green 1960s green signal panel paint, and just paint the panel. If I can remember the one at Hackney Downs, this was like a cream colour and the top was a green, so that might be a little project for another day ahead in the future, but a lot's happening at the moment. So yeah, but that's how roughly it's going to sit on there when it's all wired up. And obviously this side will be all open like that, so you can get to the wires just in case you need to do something. But I wanted to create that profile at the front with that little sloped lip, because that reminds me exactly of the old NX panels in the sort of 1960s signal boxes that I worked in and visited in my early days on the railway. But the one at Hackney stands out so much because it was the first box I learned about signalling in, and it was the first box I worked in as a box lad. And also I used to play with trains unofficially when the peak could finish and the Siggy was asleep on the station platform bench, which we had up inside the box at Hackney. An old wooden bench from the days of steam was up there, and it made obviously for a seat and also for a shut eye for the signalman because it had some old slam door stock cushions on the seat as well. Every box that I worked in or knew in the area, because what I used to do, I used to cover all the rest days for most of the signal boxes on West Anglia, on the area, as it were. Most of the low grade boxes, like level crossing boxes and the basic signal boxes. The higher grade boxes were for the more qualified men that were trained to do that job. But I had a go at most of the panels up there. Certainly Hackney, I knew how to work Hackney. Hymes Park I worked at. Enfield Town I visited here and there. Chinkford I've been up in. But they were mainly boxes like Hackney Downs was an NX panel, which meant it was a push button panel, an entrance and exit style panel, whereas boxes like Chinkford and Enfield Town with still the old original lever frame boxes, beautiful. But yeah, Hackney, we had push buttons and levers, not levers, push buttons and switches, mainly rotary switches, not toggle switches, we rotary switches for the points. Yeah, all good fun. But yeah, just a quick video, folks. So I'm going to love and leave you. I'll let this dry, and I'm not going to attach this for a good while yet. I've got a little bit of unfortunate news to break to you. I know Andrew Rice, I believe, made a comment on my last video, and he said, I wish Network Rail would get their finger out and get the signals working so we can all see the little J15 on a test run. Well, I agree with you, Andrew, but unfortunately today, halfway through my wiring up of all the signals and the baseboard, my soldering iron of some 15 years plus decided to die on me. It's gone. My soldering iron is finito, kaput, dead, stopped working. It's the element, unfortunately, that's burnt out. I think that's just gone. So I'm going to have to wait a couple of weeks till I get some coins and just go out and get a new soldering iron. And also need some more terminal blocks as well for this side of the job to connect up all these switches. Because what's going to happen is, if you can follow with me, these switches physically, the wiring has to meet up with what is on the baseboard side. So there's going to be a set of terminal blocks on the end of some extension wires. I'm going to extend these switch wires, obviously, about less than a foot-ish, and then put those into terminal blocks, and then everything from the layout side, control side, will go into those terminal blocks. Like I do my lighting, if I swing round on my little chair here, if you see here, this big chunky lead I've made up with all these wires, that's, for example, all of the lighting in my MPD, my depot. And they'll go into that from the control panel side, and that supplies power through that terminal block, through those wires, and obviously through the baseboard and up into the lights themselves. So I'm going to do the same idea with this, but it's going to take a bit more time now that I've lost my soldering iron temporarily out of action. I need some more terminal blocks. So such is life, but we'll get there in the end. But I'm quite pleased with my achievement so far tonight. That's a little job out the way whilst we're waiting. See, it's a bit like everything else on the railway. Blimey, I promise I'll be with you next week. Like everything else on the railway and in life, something always takes a turn. So what you've got to do is use that waiting time to get on and do something else, and think, okay, well, I'm waiting for that. What in the meantime can I do? And you're still progressing towards your target. So yeah, I'm a very happy chappy tonight that I've done the basics with the switch panel, got this sorted out, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video, and have yourselves a great week ahead, and I promise I'll see you soon. Take care now, guys. Bye bye.